Hello, good morning, happy Sunday. I hope you're having a great week. And as you know, if you follow me, on Sunday, I have the pleasure of reviewing a book each Sunday. And this week, I'm really excited to share the book I'm about to share with you. It's not a business book. It's not a self-help book. It's not a self-improvement. It's not a biography. It's just kind of a book of wisdom and life lessons. And so this week, I want to share with you What You're Made For by George Raveling. And I don't know if you know George Raveling or about him. I really didn't. I mean, I knew he was a basketball guy, but he's lived an incredible life. I mean, crazy incredible life, very rich life, long life. He's had unbelievable experiences, including doing security for Martin Luther King Jr., including being Wilt Chamberlain's personal assistant. He's met 6 presidents. He's served in all sorts of capacities. He's mentored some of the biggest names in sports, including Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, many, many others. And so he wrote a book about his life lessons and how to live a good life, how to be a good coach, a good mentor, how to get mentored, how to be a good partner, all these things, how to live a fulfilled life. It was a really, really interesting book. And so how I came across this book is I first saw this book summary article in the Free Press. And the Free Press is a really good publication. It's not an industry publication. It's akin to like Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal or New York Times. It's a very balanced, well-written. They have tons of different publications. But I came across this book review. And the book review is actually done by Ryan Holiday, who co-wrote the book with George Raveling. And in this little short book review you see here, he highlights this unbelievable rich life about his time with Martin Luther King. And here you see him mentoring Michael Jordan. And it went on and on and on about what a rich life he led. And then as I was, I go, okay, gosh, this is a book I want to read, especially it's March Madness. Like, I love reading books in the right time, in the right place. Like, if I travel, I try to read a book from that geographic area. It just means more to me and anchors more into my memory. And so here's what the book looks like, just in case you're curious. This cover the book, What You're Made For, Powerful Lessons, A Life in Sports, A Legend on Sports Business, and the Great Game of Life. So this is a really, really good book. I'm going to get into it with you guys. We'll get through it quickly. It's not a complicated book, so it's not going to take a ton of time to get through. Now, a couple accolades for George. He was the first black basketball coach in the ACC and the Pac-8, as well as being the first black basketball head coach in several universities like Villanova, Maryland, Washington State, and Iowa. Excuse me. He was the catalyst behind Michael Jordan signing with Nike. He's, as I mentioned, he had a relationship with Dr. Martin Luther King, and in fact was doing a security detail on stage when Dr. King gave the I Have a Dream speech, and Dr. King actually gave him the only copy of that typewritten speech, with George later donated to a museum. He was former Nike's director of international basketball. He has co-wrote this book with Ryan Holiday. He's been inducted in the Naismith Hall of Fame, the National Collegiate Hall of Fame. He's participated, I think, in at least 2 Olympic basketball teams. And so there you go. So that's kind of his background. The book's fresh. It came out last year. There's not sales numbers on it, but it's selling really, really well. Now, here's the thing. The whole theme, though, I always like to start with the book. What's the title? What you're made for? Which is a central question in the book. And it's just really understanding your purpose, your legacy, and your contribution. That's what it's really about. And so this book, he would say, or he does say in the book, it's a manual for living, and he has all sorts of really great insights in this. Now, I'll tell you, there's 21 chapters in this book. And the way the chapters are set up, they're set up as a call to action. So like the titles are, I'll start with to be something, to do something, that's a call to action. It's to, right? And so pretty cool. Here's some of the key kind of points before we just quickly breeze through the call to actions. And by the way, reading this book, it felt like a lot like reading Pound the Stone. Like a lot of the same message. And Pound the Stone is one of my favorite books. This book has so many similarities to it and really resonated. So one big theme is winning the day. Success is built on small, unseen habits. Greatness is showing up and doing the work day in and day out, right? Your past doesn't define you. In this case, it's George's past. But I think his dad died or was out of his life early, and then his mom was institutionalized. He actually went and lived at a convent kind of place. Fortunate, by the way, or a boarding school for kids that without families. It was really fortunate for him, and he's very grateful for it. But didn't come from came from challenging circumstances, right? Another concept of the book is be an everyday guy. He talks about this a lot with Jordan and Kobe. Greatness comes from consistency and ordinary effort applied every day. Very much like Pound the Stone, right? Live to serve. Serving others is an optional. It's central to fulfillment and leadership. Curiosity as a compass. One of the things that came out of this book is George Raveling loves to study. He reads copious amounts. He reads a ton of books, a ton of articles. He's constantly reading. It's intentional. He blocks out time every morning, every evening. He's intentional about how he reads and highlights and takes notes and applies. Really interesting there. So curiosity as a compass. And then, of course, ask the right question, which is, what am I made for? This is a lifelong question, not a one-time revelation. So, excuse me, again, I'm still getting over the icks, but I'm still excited about this book. So let's just get through some of the call to actions. Those are the chapters. The first is to be a trailblazer. And in this, he really talks about overcome segregation and adversity and overcome where you come from. And it's about forging your own path. Listen to learn. Listening is how Raveling leads. And so he embraces the 80-20 rule. Listen 80% of the time, talk 20% of the time. And he talks about how Wilt Chamberlain and Phil Knight, and he talked about Phil Knight in the book quite a bit, and Wilt Chamberlain, but Phil Knight from Nike, and who was a really good mentor of him, and Phil had really good listening skills. Another call to action is to seek out wisdom. This is where he talks about go to bookstores, read books, have a library. He has this concept in this book, and I really ponder this concept. He goes, unread books are assassinated opportunities, and so a book is born to give people knowledge and wisdom and hope and potential. And an unread book, that just all dies. It's a really good quote. Okay, so next call to action is to struggle. Struggle is the cost of growth. Adversity shapes more character than any victory. Next call to action is to study books. We talked about that. Next one, to dispense love. Love is leadership and action. He talks about love quite a bit. That's actually quite a good chapter. Next call to action is to serve others. Mentorship is a core practice. Lift others as you rise. He really talks about mentorship. The mentorship that he received, the mentorship he gives. He talks about how to be a good mentor, how to be a good mentee. The next call to action is keep hope alive. The whole chapter is about Dr. Martin Luther King. The next chapter is to be a friend. Friendship is a discipline. Really good point. Friendship isn't natural. It's a discipline. You can even argue it's a skill. Learn the skill of friendship. Practice the discipline of friendship. The next discipline or the next call to action is to build your team. Teams are built on inclusion, not just talent. Next call to action is to tell the truth. Honesty is a bedrock of leadership. Next call to action, which we've already heard about, is to win the day. Winning the day is really the signature concept of this book. That's the pound the stone concept. You got to put the work in the dark, Next call to action is to reach your outer limits. And that's just, you gotta do the fight. You gotta do the battle. You gotta push past your fear and your anxiety. You gotta push past your adversity, and to reach your outer limits. Next call to action is to bring people with you. Greatness isn't solo. Next call to action, to create order from chaos. And that's the thing, great leaders, show up during chaos. And great leaders are often their best during chaos. Next, to be a blessing. And this is like a no-brainer, but I think this is such a good point. Your influence should make people's lives better. Some of the most influential people, some people most present, I'm not certain they're making people's lives better. Sometimes I have to check myself, and what am I doing right now? Are helping people, or am I just, bloviating? Am I just helping myself, right? So that's a great call to action. Excuse me. The next call to action is to grow a coaching tree. Legacy is measured by the success of those people you help. Next is to be an answer. Step up when others step back. Don't be a bystander, be the change. Next, to be a good steward. Guard your time, reputation, and resources. Use what you've been given wisely. Next, to change the world. Big change starts with small, consistent actions. He talks about this. Was a really good chapter. The little things you do. It's like Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Start with yourself first. Really good. And the last of the call to actions is to live. Don't drift. Live with gratitude and urgency. You aren't here simply to survive. You're here to truly live. Some of the notable quotes just from the book that caught my attention: be the best of whatever you are. I already shared the one, an unread book is an assassination. This is early in the book, and it's a really good statement. He goes, look, you wake up every day with two choices. And by the way, I love it. It's not what you think. You wake up every day with two choices. You have to make two choices. The first is you can be happy today. The second is you can be very happy today. Isn't that great? That's not what that's probably not how I would have envisioned my two choices when I wake up. I was thinking more good and bad, black and white. He's like, no, you can be okay or you can be great. Those are your only two choices. The other thing is you just, what was I made for? A constant question you have to ask every day. And one of the things he talks, George Raveling in the book, he talks about all these, evolution he goes through. Like he's in this car crash when he's 54 and how that totally changed his life. And then at 85, he had an epiphany. He just wanted to live for others. Like these different places in his life where he changed, he evolved. And even late, like at 85, I picked a new life. I hope I lived to 85. But and then of course, winning the day isn't sexy, but it's everything. That's another central theme of the book. So in this book, it's really not about basketball. There's a lot of basketball stories, which makes it interesting to read, especially during the season. And it's not about winning once. It's about winning the day over and over again, And so this was a great book. It was an easy read. I actually listened to it on Audible. It was a really good book to read on Audible. I will say that the person that read the book, which wasn't George, was somewhat monotone. But because the book was so rich with stories and information, I thought it was a great listen to. Nevertheless, I recommend it, especially during March Madness. You'll enjoy it. Man, he seemed like lived a great life. Still is living a great life. So that's the book this week, What You're Made For. I appreciate all the feedback I get on these book reviews. It's actually, these are probably, I think I get the most positive feedback on these things. I hope you get something from it. Check it out. Also, if you get a chance, check out my social media. I do a lot of hopefully value-added posts on LinkedIn every single day, relevant, economic, real estate, mortgage information. I do a video every day. I post it on all my channels. So check me out. Follow me if you can. With that, hope you're having a great Sunday. Check this book out. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.